participants. Thanks to Allah, the God Almighty, that we have opportunity to meet in this online forum in our best condition. It is big honor for me, Agustina, to be the MC and also as the moderator of the International Sharing Forum on Human Rights and Gender series entitled Outstanding Gender and Human Rights Issues in Asia, How We Respond to Them. And this forum is actually held as the follow-up action from the alumni of Asia Peace Innovators Forum, Cohort 2. They meet at Salzburg on June 2023. They are Miss Nukila, Dr. Rina, and Miss Aye. And Miss Nurul from the Yayasan Dunia Viva Wanita is one of the very active sport to this program that very how to say active in providing key respondents and support all the activities to empower the event. Okay, then now let us welcome our first keynote speaker, Miss Nukila Evanti from Women Working Groups. And before she start her presentation, I would like to uh, highlight some of her professional activities center, Women Working Indonesia. And as the country director of rights, she's also very active as the board advisor at Asia Center in Thailand and also teaching faculty. So Ms. Nukila, not to further longer, please.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to thank all of you who are interested in gender and human rights issues for today. I would like also to thank my colleague, Professor Rina Syahrullah from the Women's Study Center, Batam International University, as a partner of this activity. Professor Rina is also as a fellow alumni, same with me, of the Asia Peace Innovator Program from Salzburg Global International in Austria. Also thanks to moderator Mrs. Agustina. On this day, Saturday, 19 August 2023, I want to convey a few things as notes or an introduction to other more thematic issues that will be discussed later. So I would like to share my presentation, my PPT. My presentation will be gender and gender equality and human rights issues in Asia. And I would like to first to give some definition, yeah, to make it we are at the same boat before we starting our core discussion. So human rights approach comprise of, you can see here, non-discrimination, a principle to seek a guarantee that human rights are exercised without discrimination of any kind based on race and then ethnicity, religiosity, political or other opinion, national or social origin, property, birth, and other status such as disability, age, and then marital and family status. And then equality, which include gender equality that we will discuss later, means each individual or group of people is given the same resources and opportunities regardless of their circumstances. Gender equality when people all gender have equal rights, responsibilities and opportunities, no matter if he or she, yeah, man, women, and then gender diverse people, children, and families. And then responsibilities, accountability, the ability to hold individual human rights violator responsible for their action. And then legality. This is for to address the fundamental fundamental rights and freedom of individual need rules or legislation and policy in order to guarantee that. And then empowerment. Empowerment means here is we need to have some power, yeah, to do this human right. No one can left behind, like SDGs slogans. So we need to empower those who are marginalized, vulnerable, or something like that. So this is first one. I would like to highlight about what is gender issues currently. As you can see, based on the Global Gender Gap Report 2021, we can see diverse in the region, right? Like Philippines. There are Philippines, Ayesa, where Ayesa come from. Philippines, this country is very good and strong with the strong civil society organizations. But this country's female labor force participation is the lowest in Southeast Asia, 46%, and one of the most dangerous place in Asia for women. Not only India, yeah, is my readings. And then Singapore, we see Singapore. Singapore is the country's low ranking for women political empowerment. 101 out of 141 countries in the world. Okay, now we'll turn to human rights issues because I don't have more time. Okay, Democracy Index 2019 and World Press Freedom 2020 mentioned that Thailand, Cambodia, and Malaysia are full of infringement of freedom of expression in countries, also intimidation, and arrest of political activists and other human rights defenders. Now we see the data from Amnesty International in 2022. Indonesia. Indonesia has significant report, yeah, regarding excessive force to break up protests against mining operation, including plantation, excessive plantation, extractive industries, and human rights defenders were subjected to physical and online attacks. Thus, we see from human rights in within the regions. Now, there are so many issues as well, yeah, like in gender issues. There are so many reports regarding violation on sexual and reproductive right, health right, for instance, and also issues such as like there are so many you know what it calls like issues of the marginalization of the, for instance, those who are do not have the social safety nets, for instance, after pandemic COVID-19. Okay, I'll turn to why we need to respond it. What's wrong with this? Yeah, why should we concern about this? Discrimination, stigmatization, human rights violation, harmful gender-based violence. Gender-based violence is any violence targeted to gender, yeah, specific gender, and then stereotype, and then bias, for instance, by I can say like this. We have some many ethnicity, right, in our country. So this is more targeted to these people. So this issue must be tackled, must be solved, must be taken an action regarding this, because this persistent, yeah, continuous violation, belief, norms, and continue to educate our personal safety, our personal security, our opportunities, autonomy, including bodily autonomy, yeah, and our ability, capacity to fulfill our potential. We have many potential, but because of this human rights issues or gender issues, we cannot move on because of this. And next slide, what needs to be changed, right? Uh, in every country, yeah, in every region, uh, we need to change institutional, the organizational, the foundation, and the systemic change need to occur. It could be from, this base, it's come from patriarchal, for instance, patriarchal society, and then misogynist, those who hate women, and also could be from the radical groups or something like that. So it needs to be changed, and then we need to do something to change this
Oh, nang kene lah,
behavior or this
Mbak.
attitude.
Kepulauan Riau ini, Mbak.
Sorry,
Nang kene kan ono pulau-pulau, Mbak.
can you mute yourself? Who is Hello. Okay. So how to respond? Yeah, from what we need to change, how to respond that. So my from various experience that I've been through, yeah, first we need to educate yourself about social, environmental justice issues. Otherwise, we become apathetic, yeah. We become like we don't want to know anything. This human rights issue is too sensitive, is too huge, too heavy. So we need to educate ourselves because human rights issues is around us, yeah. When we come out from our house, there are so many human rights issues, right? Education issues, health issues, and then if we cannot afford our school, universities, that's human rights issues as well. We cannot afford to go to school because of there is no buses or no transportation. That's human rights issues, right? So we need to educate ourselves about social environmental justice issues. Then second one, connect to human rights and gender equality movement. If you found in your environment, there are so many organizations from the university organization as well as like legal aid institution, or you want to be the volunteer in one organization to help, for instance, the victims of the disaster, for instance. You'll be one of this the change maker. And then the third one, organizing or joining a campaigning group. You can do that, yeah, because you can join like we had this we don't agree with the government on the issue of the, like, let's say like the ombudsman, yeah, right, omnibus law, omnibus law, for instance, because you put your stand, yeah, you put your stand, what you don't like about this omnibus law, for instance, why you consider about the how do you call that, ART, yeah, the maid issues, yeah, and then for instance migrant worker issues. You have your passion, right, in every issues. So joining the campaign, or organizing it by yourself, you can do that in the universities or outside of universities, something like that. And then fourth, take positive action in your community. You can do that. You can joining like a PATBM. There is a organization working on children in the village level. So you can join that organization or other organization that have some interest with you. And then five, take positive action in community, right? And then harness the power of social media. Everyone use the social media like Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok. You can do that. This is the power, yeah. This more powerful. I think currently this more powerful tools to move and also to convey your message to the world. And then you can do this a little bit difficult, yeah, because you have the skill on research on gender and human rights issues. Then you have to conduct research, investigate something, go for fact finding and then publish your findings in social in could be in newspaper or online media, or could be in your podcast or something like that, that you can respond regarding this many human rights and gender issues. And then I would like to share my organization, what I and my organization do to respond these issues. We do campaign because this is the start. Yeah, with if you will join with the NGOs or civil society organization, will be different with academic institution or think tank organization. We do starting from campaign. Why campaign? Because people need some kind of awareness on the issue. They don't know, right? They don't know the issue of, for instance, like sexual violence in the in the campus or universities. You have to know. Oh, you cannot do this to, for instance, lecturer cannot do this to the uh, student during the consultation of the thesis, for instance, violation, like sexual issues, and you need to educate the students, yeah, student at the university, that you have the right to say no. You have the right to respect your body, your own body. You need to help your peer, your friends as well. Men to respect
Two
women, women
minutes
to
to
respect men.
go.
How many minutes?
Miss Nukila, another 2 minutes.
Okay, that's great.
Okay.
And then advocacy. Advocacy is important. Yeah, and advocacy is tracking. You have setting your goal. We use like a theory of change. Yeah, theory of change. How we try to achieve our goal. That's our that I'm doing with my organization. And then capacity building. Like working on the workshop, education. That's capacity building, right? And then empowering. Empowering. For instance, you teach some communities to use the social media to sell their products towards Instagram or Facebook or something like that. So they can sell their products, right? Because they cannot compete with the young people because this competition era now, right? And then highlight to the most affected group because they don't have the resource, right? They don't have opportunities like indigenous people, minorities, and the marginalized people, yeah, and then vulnerable groups. For example, that I'm have organized a series of training workshop for female migrant workers before their departure to destination countries to Indonesian female migrant workers to Malaysia, to Hong Kong, Taiwan, etc. So that these female migrant workers they can prevent themselves. They recognize the trafficking in person, right? Like they know how to read the contract. They know to how to they have to keep on their passport by themselves, not to give them to the to the labor, how do you call that one, labor companies or something like that. So they know their rights, right? This is what I and my organization do to respond these many various human rights and gender issues. All right, I think I'm fine. Okay. Thank you so much for your your listening. Good luck with the discussion later. And then if you want to find our organization, you can check in Women Working Group org, and you can send me email as well if you like to discuss more regarding gender equality and human rights issues. Thank you. Back to moderator, Christina.
Thank you, Ms. Nukila. Let's give applause to Ms. Nukila's presentation. You can also use the reaction. Okay, so I think you have some questions regarding more detail of Ms. Nukila's activities. So you can put questions via chat box, and we will answer later after all the presenters present their topic. Okay, and then the second, we are going to listen the lecture from Ibu Rina Syahriani Syahrullah, PhD. Okay, so I think she's popular because yeah, uh Thank you, Ibu Rina, because you give the opportunity to make a reunion again after we work together. Um and it was sponsored by Nippon Foundation in Chiang Mai around 2015. Yeah. So okay, Ibu Rina, she is the senior lecturer of Universitas International Batam, and she's very one of the very outstanding lecturers because in 2013 she's selected as one of the outstanding one of the 15 outstanding lecturer in Indonesia by the Ministry of Education and Culture, and also some award she achieved, like gender champion from the Batam in 2018, and also she published 5 books in many areas of international law, business law, Islamic law, and human rights. She's published in national and international worldwide. She focused on the low gender human rights, especially in ASEAN.
All right, Ibu Agustina, may I start? Because I think there is a trouble in your connection. Okay, yeah, okay. So without further ado, just let me start my presentation. So, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone. Hello to everyone. So when Ms. Nukila Fanti actually talked the overview regarding the human rights and then gender issues, okay, not only in Indonesia, but this is quite similar to many parts of the world. So let me just focus very micro action. Okay, it's not a big action because we are not a national organization like Mbak Nukila's organization. Okay, it even goes international. But this is that's why I say enhancing humble contribution and engagement for social justice. This is the work of the Women Studies Center of Universitas International Batam. So let me just show to you how we are going to respond to gender issue that has been actually beautifully described, okay, by Mbak Nukila. So when we talk about the organization, okay, probably for the Indonesia, we know it as Pusat Studi Wanita. So it was established in 2006 with a vision as a study center to support stakeholders in achieving gender equality. So we also have the mission to integrate gender equality in education, research, and community services, because this organization is actually embedded in the University of International Batam. So it's a study center, but under the Research and Community Services Center. So it's one of the study center. So the second mission is to facilitate stakeholders in formulating laws, policies, program based on natural gender approaches. So as you see that we actually approach the local, not only the local communities, the community services, but also we work together with the government agencies at the local level. So when you see the logo of Women Studies Center, okay, it's quite unique because it's actually based on the local regulations, okay, based on the local regulations of Batam City. Yeah, okay, it's number 6 of 2019 concerning gender responsive planning and budgeting in regional work units within the government of Batam City. So what is actually gender? Okay, okay, what is gender under the definition of these local regulations? It says not only the role or the functions or responsibilities between men and women, but also including gender, okay, is children, people with disabilities, and elderly. So if you see here, okay, okay, can somebody please turn your mic, Sylvia, turn your mic off, please. Okay, so when we talk about gender, okay, based on our local regulations, is basically it covers not only women, men, but also elderly, children and people with disabilities. So it's very quite large, scope of the definition of gender. So what is our contributions based on education and trainings? Because Mbak Nukila already mentioned that are many issues regarding gender issues, okay, about the educations, also about the, how you would like to have a good environment, health, transport, and many others. Can you please turn your mic off? Okay, so the contributions of the organizations, WSC is actually in education. I and also some of my teams actually we give a training, okay, to the local government of Batam City. Okay, what kind of local governments that we engage in the training? Mostly they are under the mayor of the Batam City office. Okay, so we call it the dinas, yeah. Okay, they have to formulate, okay, their program and activities based on gender analysis pathway or gap and gender budget statements or GBS. So I train them, or also sometimes I ask some teams, okay, to train them. So when they drafted policies, okay, in from different sectors in Batam City, they already integrate natural genders approaches by using gender analysis pathway and gender budget statement. Okay, so another thing but Nukila has already mentioned before, how can you participate? You can do research, you can do publications. Well, that's exactly what we do, actually, because we are from the university. The university is always doing publication, research and publication. So this is some of the research that we published, okay? As I mentioned before, okay, gender is the function and the roles, okay, responsibilities, not only men for and women, but also gender-based, and our regulations of Batam City also cover disabilities. So that's why we also talk about people with disabilities and elderly and children. So there are a lot of research and publication. So it's actually welcome anyone who would like to research on this particular area, gender, which is focused on different areas. Okay, for example, you want to focus on the elderly or the senior citizens. Okay, please contact us. We are really welcome, okay, to help you, to mentor you, and to provide some other assistance academically. Okay, I have to quote this academically because we are from the academic side. Okay, but Nukila and also Ai and Nurul, so they are very good in participatory action research, but for us more in academic sides. Okay. All right. So okay. The others is that we conduct seminars like today, what we are doing, not only nationally, locally, but also internationally. So we also have the a forum, okay, where different universities collaborate. Okay, for example, the Tokyo Women's University, it's online, so it's quite cheap. Before the pandemic, I have to travel, but now hopefully I will travel again. Yeah, but Nukila. Okay, but since the pandemic, we start to do it continuously online. So like the Tokyo Women's University is by online, and also Universidad Le Gran Colombia is also online, and many activities. So almost every month, okay, sometimes we join with another study center, ASEAN Study Center. I think the ASEAN Study Centers like say, okay, can you please talk about gender in ASEAN? Okay, probably we can collaborate with that study center as well. So this is kind of seminar, including today's seminar, which is actually one of the activity from our organization. And this one, if you see the community services and the collaboration. So if we talk about the collaboration, we collaborate a lot with the office, okay, the Office of Women Empowerment in Batam City. As I mentioned, it's very local, you know, very local movement. It's not like Mbak Nukilas or probably I is from UN Women, you know, which is more international. We're very local, but we started from the local. Hopefully, we will contribute to the bigger level, to the huge, the wider level, which is contribute to sustainable development goals number 5, gender equality. But we started from the small and micro or level. So
Excuse me, Ibu Rina, 2
yes,
minutes to go.
right. Okay, thank you.
2
Okay.
minutes to go. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I'm almost done. Okay, so this is like in the city, okay, the Batam city government office, okay, and also we have the another collaboration with different university women study center, because almost universities Indonesia has its women study center. Some of them already change it to gender gender study center rather than women study center. I still use women study center because if I want to cover a lot and then we don't have many personals, it's quite hard as well. But for the research and community services, is actually we cover all parts of the definition of gender under the regulations of Batam City government. Aside of that, I say the community service is also giving a training, okay, to the officers in Batam City and also to the small city. As you mentioned, but Nukila also mentioned the rights. The human rights is not only something that you always talk about the violence when it's violated and you say, well, this is human right, but sometimes there's a small thing that we forget: water. Water, without clean water, without okay, good water, adequate water to drink, okay, is also the human right. So that's why we also collaborate, okay. Actually, it's under the faculty of law, okay, because most of the personnel of the women study centers is actually engaged under the faculty of law. So we collaborate with the community, and then we establish or we contribute, give them clean water. And then this project was actually supported by the Australian government under direct aid funds. Okay, so this is what I can say about my small organization, Pusat Studi Wanita Universitas Internasional Batam, or Women Studies Center of Universitas Internasional Batam. We started from a very small action, but hopefully we can contribute to the large or higher level, inshallah, hopefully to the SDGs number 5, gender equality. Thank you so much for your time, and then I hand it back to the MC. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Rina. Let's big applause for her. Okay, so we always start the big move from the small step. Okay, so let's welcome our third speaker, Ms. Ayesatin. She's program analyst for the Women, Peace and Security Program of the UN. And she's at the UN Women's Philippine Project Office base in Cotabato City. And then it is stated that the office is the regional Bangsamoro government somewhere in Philippines, seems. And she started her peace building work in 2012 in the conflict-affected communities of Sarangani Province, Philippines. So many things that she has been doing. Uh, and in her free time, she loves to read, write, and watch crime documentaries and get a good laugh from memes. Wow. Seems millennials activities. Okay, Miss
It is.
Aye, time is yours.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Thank you.
Agustina, I'll do the sharing of my screen. Can you guys see it? Is it visible to everyone?
Yes.
Yeah, hello. I'll just turn my video off, so because my internet is a little bit problematic. So yeah, good afternoon. I'd like to talk about women, peace, and security in the Bangsamoro region in the Philippines. I'm not sure if a lot of you know or have heard about the Women, Peace, and Security Agenda, or WPS. It's a gender um it is a gender concept. It is a gender work, but we'd like it's the work is more focused on the context of conflict communities or conflict situation. I'll try to be very comprehensive in this. So what I'd like to talk about this afternoon is broadly what women, peace, and security is as a gender work and as a work for peace building. and how does it look like in the Bangsamoro region in the Philippines. So I'll also try to give context of what's happening in the Bangsamoro region in my country. And I'd also like to talk about the issues and challenges that confront the Bangsamoro women and girls, as well as the opportunities and development. In this portion, I'd like to talk about what UN Women also does for WPS. The work for WPS mainly relies or largely relies on the question on the factual observation that in times of war or violent conflicts, terrorism, and violent extremism, these effects are differential and devastating to women and girls. We're not saying that the consequences are not devastating to men and boys and the rest of the other population, but what we are saying is that in women, peace, and security, we look at how disproportionate the effects can be to the population of women and girls. In the talk for women, peace, and security, it always begs the question of what do men and women do in times of conflict? When there is war, when there is armed violence, when there is conflict, do we actually notice, or is there actually an observable difference in what men and women do, in what their roles actually are? Is there a shift on it? In terms of gender division of labor, is there a shifting in the roles that men and the women perform when there is violent conflict or when there is armed violence? And broadly, what do gender biases look like in times of conflict? Uh, on regular times, when there is no armed violence or when there is conflict, there are already existing gender stereotypes, right? And the vision of labor is also there as prescribed by societal beliefs and cultural practices. But what we'd like to talk about and look into in the work for women, peace, and security is how do all these change or do all these change in the first place in times of war or in times of conflict? In the next slide, which is not moving, I don't know why. Yeah, in the next slide, I'd like to let you look at what the situation is in communities or in countries or in situations when there is conflict and violence. We say that women and girls' vulnerabilities are exacerbated in times of conflict. Women and girls already have vulnerabilities, even in regular, peaceful times. But in times of conflict, these vulnerabilities can even be exacerbated, including existing gender stereotypical roles. In terms of multiple burden, we see, that women have always carried multiple burdens. They are not only mothers, they are carers of their families. They are also breadwinners. But in times of conflict, these are exacerbated because women who would otherwise have been just mothers or housewives, in times of conflict, sometimes they are forced to take the burden of earning a living for their families. Gender stereotyping is also very present in times of conflict, in that men who are usually performing the role of combatants, they are mostly considered as heroes and protectors, while women, because most of them usually are not given combatant roles, they're mostly seen as victims. And this can actually lead to an issue of marginalization when during and after conflict, women become left out in consultations and peace dividends. You will see that in consultations for programs or normalization in post-conflict structures, it is always the men that get invited to talk about what do they want in peace infrastructures, but women are seldom uninvolved in these mechanisms. And also, gender-based violence looks a little bit different in times of conflict, in that women become more vulnerable to abuse. In times of conflict, in times of its consequences, for example, in displacement, women do not usually receive the proper infrastructures to safeguard their safety. Thus, they become more vulnerable to harassment. There are no proper infrastructure that secure their privacy, for example, in evacuation centers. And in other in other narratives of war and conflict, forms of sexual violence are sometimes used as weapons of war. Communities are being threatened that their women will be raped or will be sexually harassed, so that it becomes a weapon to trigger the men of the other party to fight back. So women become, victims and objects of conflicts. However, there have been several international or global instruments that protect women in conflict situations. For example, the CEDAW, the International Criminal Court, Beijing Platform for Action 1995, and the United Nations Security Council Resolution 1325 on women, peace, and security. The work on women, peace, and security revolves around the framework or the major pillars of women protection, their prevention, their protection, conflict prevention, and their meaningful participation in processes and structures, and relief and recovery. In the Philippines, women, peace, and security is very relevant because we have had a long history of and experience of conflict. As a matter of fact, we have had several peace tables. So in this slide, I'm showing you the conflict fault lines in the Philippines. We have conflict fault lines from revolutionary armed groups such as the MILF and the MNLF. These are vertical forms of violence, but on the other hand, other sources of conflict in the Philippines, which will be relevant to my discussion of the Bangsamoro region, are sources such as Rido or clan feuding, which affect women and girls severely. Resource-related violence or violence due to conflicts on land and other resources. And in the recent years, there has been a rise of violent extremism in the country, particularly in the southern region. If you would remember, there was a siege in Marawi City in 2017, and the perpetrator was said to be ISIS-related. So the Bangsamoro region in Muslim Mindanao is in the southern part of the Philippines. This is actually a political product of the comprehensive agreement between the government of the Philippines and a revolutionary group, Moro Islamic Liberation Front. The peace agreement was signed in 2014, and it concluded 17 years of negotiation between the revolutionary group and the country. And for UN Women, this is where the Women, Peace, and Security, this is where our work on WPS really revolves on, because the BARM or the Bangsamoro region is where really has a long history of conflict, and its communities of women and girls have had a long history of the disproportionate impacts of armed violence. So what are the issues that we have noted in terms of women, peace, and security? One is the persistence of land conflict and the Rido. As I've said, Rido is clan feuding. This is very persistent and common among Bangsamoro families, where clan feuds would originate from decades long of family conflicts that have been intergenerational. And because of its persistence, this constantly endangers the security of women and their communities. It would put them in a constant state of displacement and disrupt their participation in community activities. Aside from community activities, this essentially disrupts their daily lives. And an interesting point to note is that Rido or clan feuding, in these cases, there are times when Rido may physically target women in an attempt to pressure or to create pressure. I'm sorry. Yeah, Rido may physically target women in an attempt to create pressure to engage in violence against the men of a rival clan. So women are again being objectified in times of Rido, where the other party or the warring family would use or would target women to incite the anger or whatever or violence of the other families. Another gender point to look at it is of women possibly being objectified or being used as objects in clan wars. In the Bangsamoro, is that women are sometimes are always being told that they are the causes of Rido, because of the Bangsamoro region revolves in a highly patriarchal society and highly traditional, where women are where women's conduct are very much observed and looked into, and sometimes, you know, when they do something, it can become a cause of violence between families. Another Another WPS issue that we're noting in the Bangsamoro region is that there is an underrepresentation of women in formal and informal mechanisms because of prevailing male and female stereotypes in community participation and partnership. In many processes and structures, both informal and political, you cannot see too many women leaders because the society, or at least the Bangsamoro communities, are saying that religiously and culturally, women are not supposed to be leaders. They're not supposed to take up decision making. That's why they're always sidelined in decision making processes, even when the decision being made highly affects them. So most of the time they do not have the voice to speak about things because it's always the man that get to decide for them. Another is, I don't know why my slide is not moving. I'm nearing the end of my presentation. Yes. Another is, I have talked earlier about women's participation actually being sidelined, but we have also noticed that there is a layer to women's participation aside from the layer of culture and religion being supposedly prescribing that women are not supposed to lead because because leadership is a man's domain. Another layer is that in the Bangsamoro, women's participation in conflict resolution mechanisms and practices are also come with issues of elitism and or social status. In the event or in spaces where women are actually allowed to take up leadership, these are almost always only for women who come from royal families. So they get to participate, but ordinary quote unquote women are not able to penetrate this space because they lack the social status and the socioeconomic background to to actually have credibility to take up space, even when they have the rest of the other good criteria for leadership. Another issue in gender and women peace and security is that in the Bangsamoro region, there are harmful traditional practices and belief that endanger the victims of gender-based violence. Gender-based violence, particularly the cases of rape, in many Bangsamoro communities, many families would like to, in the name of honor, do not report cases of gender-based violence. So they settle it. They settle it among themselves, and there are cases when victims are actually told to marry off their abuser so that no one talks about in the family, in the families or in the neighborhood or in their communities, because it would mean shame or dishonor to the families. And that's something that is we say is a violation to the victim's right, her right to healing and her right to actually have justice. So these are harmful
Aye.
traditional practices. Yes.
Yeah,
Am
2 minutes to
I
go.
all right, all right. Yeah, I'm nearing the end of my presentation. Another issue is the unaddressed or unhealed psychological issues of women from experiences of conflict. The Bangsamoro region, or the southern part of the Philippines, as I have said earlier, has had a long history of conflict dating from so many decades ago. But because psychological issues are not concrete, they cannot be seen, they're not tangible, it's very hard to push for an agenda to actually include it in the healing process or in the in peace mechanisms. That's why women who have experienced that still have unhealed and unaddressed psychological issues that continue to manifest in the work that they do and in their lives now. So these are the opportunities and developments for WPS in the Bangsamoro region in the Philippines, which UN Women is doing its best to actually participate in and implement. In terms of policies, this is a recommendation as well as a description of what we do. To address WPS issues, we are pushing for institutionalization of policies. So we'd like to be able to touch the policy level. in terms of gender and WPS work. These can be in the forms of action plans on women, peace, and security, or through integration of gender work in the gender responsive budgeting plans. I just like to share that the Philippines is the first in Asia to implement the National Action Plan on Women, Peace, and Security in 2010. And we're also the first in the world to have a sub-national action plan on women, peace, and security. So we have a regional action plan on women, peace, and security. We're also working for the support of economic resiliency of women. We're supporting women-led social entrepreneurs because we think that women who are empowered economically can have a more capacity to live more productive lives and be able to participate also in peace building work. We also are pushing along the pillar of women's meaningful participation to build women's skills on mediation. So they can be able to participate in conflict resolution processes. And what we want really is to concretely have them in formal infrastructure and informal structures such as councils, government councils, public order safety councils, and other conflict resolution mechanisms in the government and inside the communities. And we're also working very closely with civil society because we believe in constituency building in the communities, and we lean on the expertise and experience of grassroots women. And all in all, the work for women, peace, and security, saying all that, it really revolves around the phrase of nothing about us without us. So nothing about women without women. And to end this, I would just like to say that we respond to the question of why is there a need to include women in the talks for peace or peace building? It is because women comprise 50% of the population, and we are the mothers of the other half, and we are affected by all this. So women, women's inclusion should not be a question in the talks for peace building. Thank you very much, and I'm very happy to be able to join you in this activity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Miss Aye. Wow. Okay, so this is a very comprehensive, and it's from the very how to say, it's like from helicopter of view from the United Nations representative. Okay, thank you so much. And we will invite our speakers from yeah, Indonesia. Ms. Nurul Aryani is the Secretary of Yayasan Dunia FIFA Wanita Indonesia. And she's currently work as a secretary and case manager since 2014. And she got awarded some award from Governor of Riau Island, Haji Anwar Ahmad SAMM in 2021, and also from the head of BP 2ME. And then she also got another award from Jaringan Safe Migran Batam coordinator DS Sugeng Agung Nugroho in June, just in June. And she is the alumni of Universitas International Batam. So Ms. Nurul, time is yours. So please share your experience while handling the women migrants from Indonesia perspective. Time is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Agustina, and thank you, Burina and Bunukila, for inviting me. I'm honored to be here. And Bu Agustina, can you help me to share my presentation? Thank you. Okay, so today I would like to represent Yayasan Dunia FIFA Wanita, and what is Yayasan Dunia FIFA Wanita? In English is World Foundation for Women. Next slide. Thank you. Yayasan Dunia Viva Wanita is actually a non-government organization, is an NGO and or social foundation. Is founded in January 2011 by late Miss Bridget Tan. She is a Singaporean, and the purpose is to dedicate to empower women and children through education, training program, provide services to help women, migrant workers, victim of human trafficking, and victim of labor exploitation. Before turn to foundation in 2011, actually last time is Solidaritas Migrants Calibrini is just an association in 2007, and it's because a lot of communities in Batam need our help. They approach us to help education with the children, and because association is a very small association, so we turned to foundation in 2011. Next slide. So this one is Yayasan Dunia Viva Wanita Motto is first to this one is our vision and mission. Our vision is empowering women and children, changing life, and our mission is provide protection, social assistance, advocacy, and reintegration for migrant workers. Providing educational services, skill training, economic empowerment for the community and migrant communities. Next. So our Yayasan Dunia Viva Wanita motto is we have three is educate, empower, and engage. Educate is we believe that education is the foundation of human development. We support community education project for women, children, and migrant workers returnees of marginalized community. We support the prevention program and the basic information about HIV and AIDS for youth and workers. Empower is we believe that empowering women is entrepreneurial skill could develop women to be changes leader for the community. We support capacity building skill for women in the developing livelihood project for their socio-economic development. We also engage. We believe that community build community. We engage and support our community partners in society to achieve our safe vision to better life for all, especially where the community living is at vulnerable to human exploring and trafficking. Next slide. So what we do? So we actually provide post-departure human right-based education for women migrant workers. We provide social and advocacy services for women and children who could be potential victim of human trafficking and labor exploitation. We provide reintegration program for women, migrant workers, returnees, and local migrant communities with the hope to develop livelihood project for their families. And we provide an early childhood development program for local migrant communities. We also provide HIV and AIDS prevention program and anti-human trafficking program. Next. So we have a program and services. One of it is one helpline and help desk, shelter, kindergarten, and reading house. So our help desk is to run services for women migrant workers in seeking assistance. We give assist an option for their right and assist with the temporary shelter, social rehabilitation, return to the origin village, and reintegration. So we also have shelter. It's a temporary shelter to give support to women, migrant workers, returnees, and children in crisis, victim of human trafficking and victim of labor exploitation in Batam. We also have a solar project is Save Our Little Angel at Risk. This solar project is to give a protection for babies of unplanned pregnancies. The babies of because of the babies of unplanned pregnancies could be subject to sexual abuse and human trafficking, especially women migrant workers were victims of sexual abuse and sexual exploitation. So this shelter mostly beside for migrant workers, returnees. We also actually help for the local victim of violence against women and children. So we also have a kindergarten and reading house program. This kindergarten and reading house, we support community education project for early childhood development program for children who are living at several migrant marginalized community. We have 5 Little Angel kindergarten and reading house at Kampung Air, Bukit Timur, Kampung Baru, Teluk Waheng Punggur, and Teluk Lengu. We also set up another kindergarten at Tiban Point called Viva Bintang Bangsa Kindergarten to serve children community at Tiban. So why we set up kindergarten at the squatter area or slum area is because there is no kindergarten at that place, and if let's say they go to the city, they need to pay high fees. So Yayasan Dunia Viva Wanita is provide free educations for the children, because we believe that the children at the squatter area or at the slum area have the right to have educations no matter where they are living. Next.
Miss, your time is 3 minutes to go.
Oh, okay.
So, which one?
Okay. So, okay, just now we have HIV and AIDS prevention and anti-human trafficking program. Okay, next, this one is our structure organization. We have about 25 staff, and we have few volunteers. Next, this one, our founder, she is Bridget Hines, and she was a Singaporean. You can see her at the Wikipedia. Because of her work, she have an award and nominations, and you can see also this one is our board member and team. This one our gallery. So like once a year, we also contribute grocery for these 5 communities in Batam. This one when we handle a case like human trafficking case or labor exploitations. They are migrant workers from Singapore and Malaysia. So each year we help about 20 to 30 migrant workers. We help to assist them with identification, shelter, help rehabilitation, social rehabilitation, returnees, and reintegration. So this one also is one of our victim human trafficking actually. And after they are finished their case, we will assist them and send them back to their home village. So this one is the children at the squatter area actually. So each year we help about 180 to 200 children from these 6 communities. This one of our victims, she is migrant workers from Singapore. We help her with a scholarship until university, and this one we also have actually one of our program also empowering women and children. Beside that, we also have a skill like a computer class and sewing, and we also give capital to the who want to have a business or whatever. We give them how to make a business. And this one is we go to the schools, Senia High School, to talk about the HIV and AIDS prevention and anti-human trafficking program for youth, factory workers, and communities. So we have these programs every year. Okay, so if you want to become a volunteer, you can email to us or WhatsApp us, or if you want to know more about our work, you can see our website at www.ydfw.org. Okay, our office actually at the Complex Townhouse Tiban Point. Okay, so this one is our founder motto. She say social justice is everyone's responsibility, where the rich must help the poor, the strong must help the weak, the knowledgeable must help the less knowledgeable, and we all have a part to play the roles. So thank you so much. I finished my presentation and go back to Bu Agustina.
Thank you, Ms. Nurul. It's the real story that you help a lot of people that have troubles in Batam area. Okay, now let's give a big applause for Miss Nurul. And then now question and answer session. There is one questions from Miss Christina Clarissa. Has there already been a violation of gender equality rights being prosecuted at Indonesia court or of HR? Or how about in other states? Has that happened in other states? For all panelists, who want to respond to these questions?
Okay, yeah, probably I'll just talk about it. Okay, so can you please clarify first the question because it's not that clear. She's asking about the cases to the court, right? So what was the question again? It's not that clear from here.
I think our Miss Christina Clarissa, do you want to directly send questions for the panelists?
Present, yes, thank you. If I
Okay.
may. So to sum, my question is actually about Indonesia has a human rights court, right? But has there any gender-related violence that has been prosecuted in our human rights court or any other court in that fact in other states? Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so I'm from law, so I will respond to this. Probably, but Nukila also would like to respond later. Okay, so thank you, Christina. Okay, for the questions. It's actually there are many types of gender violations. Okay, one of it when we talk about human trafficking, this is one of the very crucial issues in Indonesia. And then there are a lot of cases is actually submitted to the court, okay, and already there's a verdict, and also the courts actually already give the sentences or the penalties because in the crime it's a crimes, okay, to the perpetrators. But very unfortunate is only those in the middleman, but not to the top, not the organization, not the mafia. It's very difficult to get the mafia. Who's really the mafia there? Because when we talk about the ring of human trafficking, okay, it's actually there's a lot of organization link it together, okay, the mafia. That's why we call it organized crime. It's a mafia, okay. But then only the perpetrators who are reported directly by the victims or get reported by the NGOs or who handle the victims and then can be processed by the law. So this is actually the serious effort must be conducted by our law enforcers in order to arrest, okay, or to get the information as much as possible regarding the mafia or the crime organization which involved in human trafficking. There's already also in Batam, yeah, and also in other parts of the Indonesia, okay, which is the state court is already give the sentences to the perpetrators. Okay, am I answering your question, Christina?
Yes, very. But to make things clear, so it was human trafficking women or
Yes. This is actually the victim, most of the victims of human trafficking women. Okay, and also another is gender violation is we talk about domestic violences. Yeah, if you know like the women, okay, reported to the police that the husband is actually conducted domestic violences, and it will be processed through the police, and then it becomes the criminal case. Yeah, so there are many. I'm just only giving you one examples which is quite huge in Indonesia when we discuss about human trafficking, because Indonesia, unfortunately, now it's in the watch list, watch list, okay, because the United States of America is always making the indicator to rank the country. I think I have to congratulate IE from the Philippines because it's the tier 1, where the Indonesia dropped it from tier 2, dropped to tier 2 list regarding the
Oh.
human trafficking. Okay. Okay, that's from me. But Nukila or anyone would like probably what happened to other types of gender violations.
Okay, I would like to. I'm also from the low background, so I would like to, from my perspective of your what was your the question? Yeah, there are this from the perspective of the court, there are two courts regarding uh, uh, trying to try selected human right issues, human right cases. One is regarding ad hoc human right courts. This is established under the law number 26 2000, and the other court is the civil court or high court or something like that, that tried the case like human trafficking or trafficking in person cases and other cases. For the ad hoc human rights court is tried to establish a particular crime like genocide or crimes against humanity. That if you ask about gender perspective on these two courts, that would be a difficult question, yeah, because of course, from my observation on the ad hoc human rights courts, there is a lack of the gender perspective on this issue. Yeah. For instance, regarding the women victim who have been abused, or for instance, allegation of rape in Timor-Leste case, for instance, that would be is that injustice or not? We don't know, right? Because lack of perspective on the process of the trial from the indictment until the verdicts. What about the other court? Yeah, like a civil court which try the trafficking in person cases, for instance, is also complicated. Yeah, regarding this, because it could be because of the lack of the knowledge of the judges or prosecutors, or as well as the lawyer as well, or also the support system like a legal aid persons. So that's how to they can speak up for the victim. How can they speak up during the observation, the hearing or something like that? That also difficult to ask. Yeah, what was the actual experience that been being faced by the victim, for instance, in this regard, for instance, female or women. Was there were there any rape issues or sexual violation issues during trafficking in person? Also this lack of perspective, yeah, some on the court. So yeah, I just want to, that's only my perspective regarding it needs, that's why it needs some, I understand that the more training, more training workshop for the prosecutors, for the police, for the judges, but it needs more intervention on a program which is more sensitive to gender for the training regarding how to deal, for instance, with the victim or witnesses who will be testified in front of the court. So I think that's my answer regarding your question. Back to you,
Yeah.
moderator.
Okay, so I hope that the answers from two panelists is quite clear to answer the question from Ms. Christina. And there is also one question for Ms. Aye, that you mentioned about one of the pillars of women, peace, and security is prevention. However, how can the prevention pillar be executed in the conflict situation, especially in Bangsamoro's case? Miss Aye,
Yeah.
is it clear
Yes,
for you?
yeah, it is. It is clear. Actually, also answered that question in the chat box. But Yeah, to reiterate my question, the WPS pillar on prevention is really centered on the work to for conflicts to not recur, because there are cases when they actually do, or there are also a lot of cases when one conflict can lead to another. But in the work for women, peace and security, the pillar on conflict prevention is really to or emphasize or reiterate the role of women in how to prevent conflict. Thank you. Thank you, Christina, for the question.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Aye, for sharing. And then I have one last question for Ms. Nurul. You have a lot of case and then also program. And what about the funding? How the yayasan able to support for all the victims?
Okay, thank you, Miss Agustina. So actually, we have our main fund donors since 2011. They are from overseas, Chen Sulan Trust Foundation. And beside that, we also do fundraisings with NGO partner. One of the NGO partner called Just People. So like every monthly, usually I will have workshop with them, presentation about our work. So we have like sometimes they will support to pay the teacher salaries or for the operationals. But beside that, we also fundraise with we have a program called social visit. So usually like every month, twice or 4 times. Sometimes we have visitors from overseas that want to visit our project, and after they see our project, they will donate for the children's, I mean, for the operational of the school, or for the teacher salary, or for the renovation of the school, or for the shelter. So yeah, so we're doing a lot of fundraising. Thank you.
Okay, so I would like to highlight it that you have the funding, but you also welcome for all the contribution from Indonesia if they want to contribute as volunteer or give the funding. And maybe you heard MPKM program, you can contact Ibu Rina, maybe you can design further about the MPKM program to recruit some volunteers. Okay, I think time is flying so fast that we come to the end of the session. Okay, so thank you for all the panelists for your uh how to say. Yeah, I know that you all are great and you are all voluntarily doing this to help many people that need help from the surroundings, from the academician, from the NGO, from the governments. So we are here to give a contribution. So it's not always a big contribution, but I highlighted from the Dr. Rina, small step is always important before we reach our big dreams. Let give applause to every one of us. And I hope that we will be able to meet again for the other series of International Sharing Forum on Human Rights and Gender series. So thank you so much. And I hope everyone is doing fine. Enjoy the weekend. Assalamualaikum
you.
warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you so much.
Kak
you,
Rina,
Ibu
so good
Rina.
to
Thank
see
you.
you. So good to see you.
Okay, nice
See
to
you.
meet you online. Bye,
Yeah,
everyone.
yeah, Nakila. See you soon.
Okay.
Inshallah.
Okay, thank you so
Bye.
much, participants. Don't forget to fill in the attendance and you will get the material. See you, everyone. Project